Hi everyone, this is Ian. Today we are going to talk about the document object model and how we can manipulate it by creating an interactive bubble generator app. Let's start coding. In an extremely simplified explanation, the DOM or the document object model is a powerful tool that provides a structured representation of a web page where us developers are given a space to dynamically interact with and manipulate its elements using programming languages. Now, using Chrome Developer Tool, we'll see in action how to interact with the DOM and also how to manipulate its elements. We are now here on our OneCodeCamp website, and to access the Chrome Developer Tools, just right-click your mouse on any part of the web page and then click on Inspect. Let me see if I can make the screen bigger. You guys to see it better. Okay, I think that's big enough. Oops. It is too big. Okay. Try to go for this 100%. Okay, I think that will do. Alright, so as you can see, under the Elements tab inside our Chrome Developer Tools, the DOM, which is all these codes down here, pretty much looks like or it mirrors an HTML structure. That is because the DOM is created based on the existing HTML markup file, and then it serves as an interface for interacting with the rendered web page using any programming languages, which in our case, we will be using JavaScript. So what we wanted to happen here is we will be kind of changing some elements in here, maybe some text. So to do that, we're going to open the body tag, and then let's look for the header app here. You can manually look for it in here, or you can just click on the particular element that you're looking for, and that should open up for you automatically here. But in our case, since everything is zoomed in, it's hard to look it up. But let's see. So we're looking for, I think we'll run past through it. We are looking for header site. The header. Let's try to open this. That's not it. Okay, there you go. I think I was able to find it now. Container. Let's see header top, header right, social. Okay, this is what we're looking for. So what I want to do is to change this text to something else. Maybe you can write DOM manipulation lesson. All right, once you hit an enter, there you go. So you can see that the changes that we did reflect on our actual website. Now, aside from changing the text, you can also duplicate an element. Just click on copy element, and then you can place it anywhere you like. For me, I will just be pasting it on the same place. And then, as you can see, we now have two text. It says DOM manipulation lesson. Now, aside from changing the text, we can also manipulate the existing CSS styles. Down here on the Styles tab, this is how we can change the font color. It's currently on this color, and we would want to change that. Let's go for an orange color. Let's try this. All right, there you go. So you can see it changes from kind of white to an orange, or is that a yellow color? I don't know. But yeah, so aside from the color, for the last customization, I would like to show you how to change the font as well. Now, this is the existing font. We would want to change that to, let's see, what are our options. Let's check this fantasy. All right. So there we have it. As you can see, this is how we can interact with the DOM using the Chrome Developer Tools. Now, once you refresh the web page, or once you just close your browser and then go back to the same website, all of the changes that we did will be gone, and the original state of the website will be back to its original state. All right, there you go. But everything is back to normal. Now that we have a grasp of how to manually manipulate DOM elements, we'll put this knowledge into practice by developing our very own application. Our goal now is to build an interactive drawing tool that lets us generate circles in random sizes. Let us now close our browser. We won't be needing it anymore. And then on our desktop, let's create a folder we want to name JS Circles. And then also we are going to use Visual Studio Code to build our application. Now let's open the folder location of our JS Circle folder. Now that once that's open, we will be adding 3 files. The first file being our HTML. Then we're also going to need a CSS file, and then lastly, of course, we're going to use a JavaScript file. For our index element or for our index file, it will actually be just a very short code. So let's start with a simple boilerplate. So let's open our HTML tag. Inside our HTML tag, we want to include the head tag. And then let's put in a title. Let's just put in here JS circles as well. And then let us include our files. Let's go for the CSS files first. Next would be our JavaScript file. Let's give it its location. Script.js. It should be inside our quotation mark. There we have it. Alright, and then now we are ready for our body tag. Our body tag only includes one div element for now. And we're going to give it an ID name of container. That's it. We're going to skip styling and then we'll proceed in our JavaScript file, which we will be starting off with an event listener. Event listener DOM content loaded. Now this event listener lets us ensure that our HTML file has been fully loaded before our JavaScript file will be loaded next. It makes sure that the HTML document has been finished loading before we can execute everything that we will be putting here on our JavaScript file. Okay, now we can declare the default variables that we will be using. For our circle, we want to give it a default position of absolute. And then we also wanted to give it a default color. So for background color, I already picked a color. Earlier, it's kind of like some sort of shade of olive green. E8CC. Okay. And then we are going to proceed in creating a class, which will be giving a name of circle. Circle. Alright, now inside our circle class, we will be having a constructor that will take in an event parameter. Now inside our constructor, we have three very important things that we are going to include. First would be the radius. This is the one that's going to be responsible in generating random sizes for our circle. And let me first provide the code. So for us to, of course, have or create random radius or random sizes, we're going to make use of the random function. And then we are limiting the size of our circle to only around 20 pixels. So even though it's random, we still wanted to limit on how big we want the circles to be generated on our screen. And then down here for the left and the top variable, these are the ones responsible for mapping or tracing where will the circles be generated, in what position on the screen will they be generated. And we wanted to happen that it will be relative to the cursor or to the place where we click on our application or on our screen. So for the left variable, this serves as the x-axis. We're going to say event.clientX minus parse in. Then we are going to call in our this.radius again divided by 2. And then we want to have it in pixels. So we can, of course, use this for our CSS styling. And then for our top variable, we pretty much have the same code, except for instead of it being the x-axis, it will map the y-axis instead. Alright, so there we go for our constructor. Now we have one single method inside our circle class. This will be styles. Now styles will be the one responsible on managing how do we want our circles to look like. So what we want to do in here is we are referencing the div that we created from our HTML file, and we wanted to make that div the placeholder for the circles that we wanted to be generated on each of our single clicks. Now along with mentioning or along with putting in the div in here, we are going to add in an inline CSS by calling in style keyword. And then we can now put all the functions or all the CSS selectors that we wanted to be included on the look of our circles. Now, first is the position. For the position, we would like to get the value of the position variable that we declared up there on line 2. And then, let me see. So after position, we also have top. Top, we will be referencing this to this.top from our constructor. We also have left, which you guess it, will be referencing to this.left this time. And then after that, we of course need to include the width of the circles, and this will be handled by of course the radius of our circle. We want to put in here px. And if there's width, there is of course the height, which we will be leaving with the same value. This, that, radius. Okay, don't forget our pixels there. Okay. Let me see if I forget something. So height. And then we also wanted to include a border radius for us to achieve that corner or that circular shape. Since div in default are rectangular or square in nature. This will be handled by our this.radius variable as well. X. And then lastly, we want to of course include a background color in here, which later on, aside from the default one that we mentioned, we wanted it to be changed to something else. Background color. We're missing a P in here. Okay. Alright. And then don't forget the bracket. Then let's close the div. And I think I need to put in a backtick in here. Okay. That's looking good. Now, after we are done with our circle class, of course, we're going to trigger or to call in this class to create an instance of our circle, and we want that to happen on every click of our mouse. So we are now adding yet another event listener. This time it will be a click event. Click function event. Now inside this, we are now calling our circle class. So we're storing it on a circle variable event. Alright. Now whenever we call in an instance of our circle class, we of course wanted it to inherit the styles method. And then we would like to have it appended, or we would like to get the div with the ID name container as our reference or as our placeholder. Container dot HTML. So now we're telling our code to have it appended to our container div. And of course, again, we want it to inherit the styles method. Try to get the stylings, all the stylings we put in here. Now let's go ahead and test. Let's check our live server to see if it's working or if we have any errors. Oops, and before I open our live server, let me make sure we add colon in here to avoid errors. Okay, that's looking good now. Let's open it. Here is our live server on the browser. Let me just fix our window so we can see them both together. Alright. Now what we want to happen is to see circles on our screen here whenever we click. Alright. And that is the screen color that we coded in here. It's generating circles as we click exactly on that location on our screen. Let's clear that up. So our code looks good so far. So now what we wanted to happen is to add buttons. For us to do that, open up our HTML file again, and then we're going to add another div. We put it there. this div, let's give it a class name of button. Okay, and then inside it, of course, we'll be using another div. This one we will be giving an ID name of pink, and then another class name for button. Or maybe not. Let's just leave it as it is, and then let's add more buttons. So basically, we will be adding 3 more colors aside from the green default color. But aside from the colors, we also want to add a reset button so that whenever we want to clear out our screen, our app, we don't need to like refresh it here. We just need to click a single button and it should clear out our app. Okay, now for that to appear here, these buttons, let's now open our styling. But first, let us make sure that we don't have any default margin in the browser. Okay. All right. And then each div, we would like to align the buttons up here. So let's have them align in an inline block. Okay. And then let's put them together maybe 20 pixels away from each other. 20 pixels. Okay. Now for each individual button, we're getting their ID names. First is the pink button. Let's give it a width. We would like it to be, let's say, 50 pixels wide. It's also, of course, we will be making it 50 meters tall. Pixels tall, I mean. And then we want to add color. Obviously, since this will be, these buttons will indicate what other colors would our circles should be. So let me just add this here. I forgot a number sign. This is now a code I use for a nice pink color. And then lastly, I'm going to add border radius since I kind of feel like making our buttons circular as well. Okay, let's see how it looks like. All right, so there goes our pink button. We can just copy and paste this one for the 3 other buttons and 4. So this one, all the purple ID, and the only information we will need to change in here is the background color. You want to pick this kind of purple color, and then next button will be blue, and then gray. All right, let's get rid of the other number sign. Okay, now for the reset button, we will not be including any background color for it since it doesn't work that way. Well, let's see. Our blue color is not appearing. Let's see what's happening here. So our blue, the code should be number sign 686-8D and then the number 4. Oh. Let's save this. Here's our blue button. Let's see if this will work. White, of course not. So I guess we will need to set another color for our background. For our reset button. Let's go for gray. Okay, I think that will do for me. Okay, so now back to our JavaScript file. We're going to add codes in here so we can activate their functions. Now here, on our JavaScript file, what we're going to do is we will be referencing back to those divs we created on our HTML file. Let's start by getting our div ID with the ID name pink. Going to add here pink, and then going to add another event listener, which is again click. So we want it to be that when we click on the button, it will change the color from our default green to this pink color. So we're calling the variable background color we declared, and then background color. We're going to include in here the code for our pink color. Okay, let's see if this will work. Save the file. Our green color is still there. Alright, our pink is also working. We now have pink circles along with our green circles. And of course, these other buttons are not yet working. So let's work on those other buttons now. We are going to copy the same code again for the rest of the buttons. So after pink, we have purple. Let's get the code again from our CSS file. There you go. And then here is our blue button. This is for blue. Okay. Now for our reset button, since it should not indicate any background color, what we want this to happen is to just clear our HTML file or the container div that we created by ID. So put in here container, that inner HTML is equals to a blank. It says if all the buttons are working. So we still have the default green color, pink color, purple color, blue color, reset color. Now the next thing we want to address is the generation of circles on for when we click on the buttons. We don't want that to happen. So what we are going to do now is we'll avoid avoid generating circles upon button click. And then we also might want to add like an indication that that button is activated. So we know what color to be generated or to expect when we want to generate a new circle. So maybe we can like put a highlight around them indicating that that is the active button currently. So what we can do about that is we can add another style, another inline style for outline. Let's say how thick do we want it to be? Let's say 5 pixels maybe. Then we want it to be a solid black. Okay. See how it looks like. Now that that's there, we also need to include this on our CSS file for it to have like a placeholder of the outline we want to use. In here, we just wanted them to have a default size or a default outline of 1px. Solid, maybe gray. We don't want it to be that much obvious. I think that looks great. So let's copy all of this for all of our buttons. Okay. Alright. Now, we're also going to copy it maybe later on. Now, of course, once we have highlighted one button, we want the other button to not be highlighted. For the outline to be switched over from one button to another, depending on which button you click, we will be adding another line of codes. So let's see. We will just be like basically clearing out the styling for the outline for all the other buttons once one button is clicked. So the way we do it is by again calling in the ID name of all the other divs, purple dot style dot outline. So we're saying that this div should not have any outline once our pink button is clicked. And again, we're doing this same one for the other button. Tab. So we already have pink, purple, blue, and then this will be reset. Okay. Okay. And that's not in here yet, but let's copy the code for all the other buttons. One here. another one here. And lastly, for our reset button, we just need to change this thing. And then blue, we will be changing it to pink. And then the reset one should be changed to this one. Okay, I think we're ready to test. Okay, well, since we still have the problem of being disturbed by the circles generated upon click, let's address that problem now. So the way we're going to do it is we are going to add an if statement inside our main click function here. So we only want our circle to be generated outside of the buttons. So we're saying that if the event target, that class list that contains button, let's kind of fix it here. Let's move the rest of the code inside our if statement. Okay. Alright, so we're now telling our code that if the target doesn't have a button ID or a button class, it's good to generate a circle somewhere else. So we will first need to go back to our HTML file to add in a class button on each of our buttons. So along with the ID, we'll also be adding a class. We're adding a class button to all of them here. So you can just copy and paste that. Okay. Saving the file. Don't forget to save your files for our changes to take effect. And then there we have it. So you can see it's no longer generating circles upon button click. So that works. Let's see if it's still giving us the colors on each respective buttons. We still have the nice pink color. Same goes for purple. And blue is also working. Reset is also working. Okay. We are actually almost finished. Now, what we wanted to do this time is to add a bit of an animation to our application so that it doesn't look static or doesn't look boring like this. And also, since it's fast or it quickly takes up so much space, so we want to add like a fade effect on our buttons. So just to also imitate like a bubble kind of animation. So the way we're going to do that is to add another function. This time we're going to use an arrow function. We're going to give it a name of fade. And then inside our function, we're going to declare a variable named circles. Document get element by ID. We're now going to again use our container div. So in this line of code, we are just mentioning, including all of the circles that's already being generated in our app. And then we're going to do a for loop circle of true. Now we are going to present a condition wherein once it reaches a certain height, we just finish typing this in the if statement down here. Once the radius, the width or the height has already reached 0, we are going to pop or remove the circle out of our screen. Now, of course, it's going to happen if on every iteration, we're going to decrement the height of our circle. Okay. Circle that style that height is equals to height pixels. This should be a template literal, so let's add in a backtick. And then let's copy and paste it for our width. font with. And then for the very last line of code that we will be coding on our app, we will just be declaring like the interval or how fast do we want our fade to happen. So for us, I'll be saying here 100 milliseconds. Think that is long enough. Let's save, clear the canvas, and then that is our fade function. You can see it's fading slowly out of the canvas. Let's try to make it faster. Let's make a 400. See how that look like. Whoa. You can see it's slowly fading out. Oh, so the bigger the milliseconds in here is this. The slowest it pops out. Let's just keep it on 100. Alright, and these are now all the colors. Let's have them play together there. Alright. Now there we have it. So for our interactive drawing tool, we showcases the power and versatility of DOM manipulation in web development. Through this project, we've explored how to access, modify, and create DOM elements. So I hope you guys learned something new today. Again, this is Ian, and I hope to see you around. Bye!